Call on Andy Whiteman to be followed by Mike Rumbles.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. This is an important debate. It's this debate and our decision on the Local Government Finance Order this evening that provides the funding for a very wide range of vital public services, from educating Scotland's young people to environmental health, social care, leisure and recreation, transport, housing and the very system of local democracy itself. Scottish Green politics is founded upon fundamental principles, one of which is radical democracy. And we are a party that's committed to deepening and strengthening local democracy. The finance settlement today is a substantial improvement on the draft local government settlement, £160 million better in fact, and communities across Scotland will welcome this additional resource that's already mitigated many of the planned cuts in local services. And the settlement we're voting on today represents a change from a 1.6% cut in real terms in the draft budget in December to a 0.1% cut in real terms for this final settlement, as evidenced by the SPICE analysis of 6 February 2017. And importantly, if we add the change to the council tax multiplier, which provides an additional £111 million of funding to local government, we're now looking at a 0.7 real terms increase in funding for local government, budget 2016 to budget 2017. Now, I accept, as others have mentioned, that local government is still facing massive challenges, many of these identified by the Accounts Commission earlier this week. And I also accept that other parties interpret the numbers in a variety of ways. And indeed, that's part of the problem with this whole budget process. And indeed, this lack of scrutiny, this lack of transparency, rather, was an issue identified by the Local Government and Communities Committee in its report on the draft budget. But not only is it important to have more transparent reporting, we believe that we also need a completely new approach to local government finance. We've already debated the question of local tax and got nowhere. The regressive council tax remains. But I do sincerely hope, now that this budget is agreed, that we can have the further discussions that Alex Rowley was talking about on reform during this Parliament. But in our view, more fundamental reform is still needed. I do not feel comfortable sitting in this Parliament and voting on how much money local government should receive. Together with council tax freezes and now rate capping, the growing centralisation of local government finance has undermined local democracy for too long. Only 12% of the funding of Scotland's local authorities is under their own fiscal control, and even this meagre autonomy is compromised by the Tory-style rate capping imposed not by statute, but by the Scottish Government holding councils to ransom by punishing them if they set council tax rate that do not meet the preferences of the Scottish Government. The Minister in his opening remarks talked about a 3% council tax rise being, and I quote, allowed. He knows he has no statutory authority to impose that, and that's precisely why that is not in this order today. And this situation is why tomorrow we will be publishing a paper proposing a fiscal framework for local government. Just as a set of rules now exists to govern the financial relationship between the UK and Scotland, which provides a degree of clarity, certainty, transparency and predictability to the financial arrangements between both, so too should there be a similar framework in place governing the process by which local government finance is agreed. This finance order, published today, forms part of the budget deal agreed between ourselves and the Scottish Green Party and the Scottish Government. And notwithstanding our real concerns about how the financial settlement is reached, and in particular the constraints placed on Council's fiscal autonomy, we'll be voting for the motion this evening. This vote is about providing the resources that deliver vital services to people right across Scotland. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you. Mike Rumbles to be followed by Ruth McGuire.